What's going on, everybody? All right, we are here. We are doing this. It's Tuesday, and welcome to the Watchtower podcast. Hopefully, you guys are having a good Tuesday. I just said Tuesday, and then I already forgot what day it was. It's been one of those days. I'll tell you what, guys. But glad you guys are here. Glad you guys can join me for this. Confirmation that if you guys are still here, that means the Lord hasn't come and I haven't been left behind. So I look at that as a positive on that note. So, but glad you guys could join me today. We've got we've got a loaded, packed episode this week. As I was putting my notes together and trying to get all my stuff organized and everything, I was thinking to myself, hopefully we're not going to be here forever while I go through this. But yeah, so we've got a lot of stuff to talk about and all that stuff. First things first, though, like I said last week, first time using the program, this program, I changed programs and everything, and still trying to get things adjusted and right. And I noticed last week that there were some issues with the video and the audio being out of sync. Unfortunately, I have no way of fixing that, no way of controlling it. I'm doing everything I can on my end to make sure everything is running smooth, but I don't know what the problem is on that. So I apologize if it goes out of sync during the show. I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do on that. So, but yeah, if everything else is running smooth and you can hear me and everything, then we should be good to go. Again, let me know if there's any issues, and I will try and get them resolved. So looks like we got the chat here. We've got the chat here. Looks like we've got Trav. What's going on, Trav? Glad to see you, man. Hopefully you're doing all right. Now this world is here. Glad you are here, especially since you moderate the chat, and last week we were getting hit with some bots, so glad you're here. Jazz is here. Hello, Jazz. Hopefully you're doing all right. We've got Lisa. Lisa is here as well. Kim is here. Always good to see you, Kim. Wow, from South Australia. Crazy. Well, welcome, man. Or I don't know if you're, yeah, man. Your little character looks like a man, so glad you're here. Good to see you. Crazy. Somebody from Australia. Wow. From down under. Glad to see you. Hopefully you're having a good Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm not sure how the time difference goes, so I don't know if it's Tuesday or Wednesday for you. I think it's Wednesday, right? I don't know. Glad you're here. Just subscribed last week. Love the channel. Awesome. Cool, man. Glad you're here. Hopefully you stick around, and hopefully you start building some relationships with some of these people here in the chat. They're good people. So before jumping into everything, though, just a couple things, usual rundown, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff if you can. We've got donation links down below if you feel led to donate to this ministry. And then also make sure, because of, again, I talked about it last week, there's a consensus around that YouTube is going to start getting a lot more strict on these channels and what we talk about. So make sure you subscribe and follow me on Rumble and Odyssey, as well as my Telegram. All those links are down below. Make sure you follow me on there, because if something was to happen to the YouTube channel, I will still continue to do what I do over there. So make sure you follow me on there. So, okay. We're going to go ahead and jump into this. We've got, like I said, a lot to talk about. I'm going to try and get through it, and hopefully we're not going to be here forever. So first things first, though, we do got to start with what's going on with Israel. And the big news was the Karish gas production has officially begun. This is what we've been waiting for. We've been waiting for them to start getting going, and it was announced that they have started. It's not in full capacity yet, but they are bumping it up as we go through. So yeah, Karish gas is running through. That is in the off of the Karish gas rig, and it's going into the Israeli network, which they're then going to send through Egypt into Europe. So this is definitely something to keep track of. And the other aspect of this, which I talked about a couple weeks ago, and I said I believe that Once the maritime border agreement between Lebanon and Israel is complete, which, as we know, they are not friendly, they are still enemies, but they managed to get that agreement done, even though Israel just gave up everything for it. Um, the consensus is that was going to start sparking other talks from the other countries around the region to start getting that area that is just rich with gas going to the point where it's going to start being a threat to Russia, because as we know, Russia is like the main supplier right now. And so what they're doing is, as these agreements get going, it's going to start becoming a threat to Russia, and I believe that's going to be a hook for the Ezekiel 38 invasion that happens. Well, we've got confirmation this week that Lebanon and Cyprus are now announcing that they want to move forward with their own maritime border agreement so they can start getting gas production going as well. This is what I was waiting for. This is what I believed was going to happen, and it's starting to happen right now. The one caveat on this is Lebanon does need to get permission from Syria as far as these talks go. So Lebanon and Cyprus, they're ready to go. They're ready to start getting this stuff, the talks going and everything. Lebanon just has to work something out with Syria to make sure that it will all go correctly. So I had a feeling that this was going to happen, and it's already started. That was really quick. It was a lot quicker than I was expecting. So that is starting to happen. Also, one other note with Israel that I do want to make sure that we keep an eye on. The Israeli elections are going on right now, and as far as the early exit poll goes, looks like Netanyahu is leading by a very slim margin, so they're not ready to call it yet. But if he was to win, he would regain power in that area, and then we got to see what starts happening from there. Are they going to start reversing maybe some of this maritime border stuff? I don't know. We've seen some interesting things coming from Bibi on that. So we've got to just wait and see what's going to happen as far as those Israeli elections go. So some big stuff happening in Israel. Some very, very big stuff happening there. So yeah, okay. So continuing with the gas theme here, it's important to know, like I said, this gas that is coming from Karish is going to start flowing into Europe. And this is important for Europe because, as we know, of all their energy issues and everything, that should help. It's not going to be a full load like what Russia's doing. It's not going to be a full replacement for Russia's gas, but it's definitely going to help. And they said they do plan on expanding from here on out. But the biggest threat right now, which is shocking because, energy prices, gas going on in Europe is kind of a big deal right now. It's kind of collapsing all of Europe. But the biggest thing right now is Europe, they're announcing that they are running out of diesel. They're like just completely running out of diesel, trucks, jets, farm equipment, all of it. If you do not have diesel, it won't work. Also, diesel is for heating oil as well to keep the heaters going in Europe. And so this is all starting to collapse in Europe with the diesel. And it's not only happening there, but it's also happening in the US as well. We'll get to that in a second. What isn't helping with this situation is the announcement from the new unvoted for WEF Prime Minister Sunak, Rishi Sunak, which we've talked about him a little bit. I definitely want to go a little bit more in depth with Sunak. It's important to know that he is fully on board with the WEF situation. He really wants to be the puppet, so to say, for this climate agenda, for the Agenda 2030 and everything. And so his first move when he joined the office was he reinstated the England-wide fracking ban for shale gas. I'm not going to explain what fracking is and all that stuff. All you really need to know is this is bad. This is going to reduce the production of gas in Europe, which perfect move. I mean, he's coming in and doing exactly what the shadow government, what the elites want him to do. It's just very interesting. You look at the last three prime ministers. You had Boris Johnson. He's a WEF boy. He was kind of pushing things in that direction. And then we had Truss come in, which I believe that she was the what's the word? The patsy? Is that the word I'm looking for? Where everybody believed she had everybody under the illusion that she was going to come in. She was some right-wing politician that was going to come in and start fixing things, which she came in, continued to make things worse. She played the little game of the illusions of, yeah, I'm here, I'm on your side. And then she took the fall. She resigned, the shortest tenure for a prime minister. And she took the fall, made the conservative side look bad. All the blame was put on her. And then Sunak comes in. He wasn't even voted in. He didn't go through the party procedure to even take the position. And he comes in and this dude is bad. This guy is bad. He's doing the fracking ban. He comes from a very, very rich Indian family. He's also he was a high chair at Goldman Sachs Bank, which that's one of those big banks. We always gotta, we know they're players on all this stuff. So he was a high chair at Goldman Sachs. He's part of the WEF leadership. Like I said, he comes from a rich Indian family, which his family is connected to Infosys, which if you don't know what Infosys is they're it's a company that focuses on developing social credit systems and tracking financial movements and everybody's stuff. So he's fully on that, which also pushes into the fact that he's pushing heavily for social credit systems, as well as he's one of the main guys for the central bank digital currencies. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about that later with central bank digital currencies and how it kind of wraps around with the news happening today and wraps around to him. I do want to show one thing on him. That's right. I can actually show videos now, which is crazy. Where this is Rishi Sunak, and he is talking about his pet project that he loves so much, central bank digital currencies. Check this out.
Today, I'm proud to say that under the UK's presidency, the group of the world's 7 most advanced economies, the G7, is launching a set of public policy principles for retail central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. Central bank digital currencies could be a digital version of money, a bit like a digital banknote that could be used alongside physical notes and coins. Unlike most of the digital money people use daily today, it would be issued directly by a central bank, like the Bank of England in the UK. And governments and central banks across the world are working together, looking into what having a digital currency might mean in practice. This includes issues that people care about, such as ensuring users' money would be safe and secure, that it could work with other ways to pay, would be energy efficient and available to everyone. A potential CBDC could offer businesses and consumers new ways to pay in the future. It's all part of the wider story of digital innovation that has delivered benefits to millions around the world and in the UK.
So, this dude is, as you can tell, very excited and happy to be pushing the central bank digital currency, which is definitely heavily, full on part of the agenda of the WEF and the IMF, the World Bank, all of those guys, the shadow governments, which of course will be a part of the Great Reset, which is the Antichrist beast system that's coming in. This is fully a part of it. So I did want to show that to you to give you an idea of who is now leading the UK, who's prime minister there, who was not voted for, who didn't even go through the correct channels for his own party to be put in that position, to even be voted for. He was just put in. And this is a part of the WEF movement where on video, I don't have the video right now. I'm still learning all this stuff, so I apologize. But on video, Klaus Schwab has even come out and said, we've got people in every government in the world. This is what they do. They infiltrate. They've been infiltrating for years to do this. Like I said, I'll talk about central bank digital currencies, some of the news coming out today, which is some big news. And again, I'll bring it back around to Mr. Sunak here. But I wanted to give you an idea of who's leading over there and who's pushing this agenda forward. And of course, like I said, the first move he did, the very first move he did, he came in and reinstated the fracking ban for shale gas when Europe is in a giant energy crisis. That should send off warning signals. That should give you all the information that you need to know about that. So, of course, we've got Europe having their issues, energy, regular gas, diesel, all of that stuff. And then that floats into United States, who has also announced that they're having massive diesel shortages now. We've got 23 days left of diesel. That doesn't mean in 23 days we're going to be completely out. That's not what that means. But what it is our stockpile, kind of like the SPR, where we've got so many days worth of it. We're constantly adding in and subtracting and all that stuff. So it's kind of bouncing between 23 to 25 days right now, but it's already starting to show because the southeast area of the United States has already issued a code red level 4 for shortages on diesel. They're basically saying, you guys need to make sure you're letting us know when these orders are coming in. We're going to make sure that we get them to the right places and all that. So that's going on in the southeast. Then we've got New York and New England. They are already announcing rationing of heating oil before winter even hits. It's not even winter yet, and they're already rationing their heating oil. They said it's going to start as soon as winter hits here. Prepare for energy prices to jump up at least 27% when winter finally gets here up in that area. I'm seeing videos from truckers who are stuck on the side of the road where they're just talking about how all the gas stations for miles are out of diesel entirely. I'm even seeing stuff where there's regular gas, which is out in gas stations over on the East Coast. And it's not because we have a shortage of regular oil. It's a shortage of diesel oil, which means the trucks don't have the diesel to bring the regular gas to the gas station. So all of this is starting to hit right now over on the East Coast and now the Southeast. We're in danger zone, critical danger zone for diesel shortages. And it's the lowest since 2007. And it's only getting lower. I saw the numbers come out for gas and diesel, and it's negative by several million barrels. It's not getting any better. Then on top of that, we've got the Biden administration who has said that they're floating a windfall tax bill on energy companies. Oh boy. I'm hearing reports that there's no way that this thing is going to get passed. We just have to wait to see. But to give you just an idea, when the government taxes companies that sell things to consumers, those taxes get passed on to the consumers. The companies are not going to take a hit. They're not going to take a loss. They're just going to start bumping up prices for everybody else. So when they talk about putting a windfall tax on energy companies, what they mean is they are taxing you. Inflation goes higher. You pay more. Prices go up. That's what that means. So if this thing was to go through, it's a tax on you, not a tax on the company. So that's where we go on that. So, oh yeah. Yeah. Gives you the warm fuzzies. Yeah. Just wait until you hear some of the news I've got a little bit later as far as that central bank digital currency goes. I like cash. Don't want us to see this happen. Yeah. Well, it's coming, Trav. It's coming. But luckily, we've got a Lord that's going to take us out of here before we really have to worry about that. So just keep that in mind. Be encouraged about that. Even though things are getting very, very hard right now, just be encouraged. Our Lord is coming soon. So now, sticking with oil and gas and all of that stuff, I'm not sure if you guys have seen some of the latest videos, reports, anything involving the vandalism of art, where people are going and they're like gluing themselves to paintings and like throwing food items at painting, which, you know, that's wonderful. You're talking about trying to save the planet and you're over there wasting food. That's great. Makes sense. And you're using oil-based glue to glue yourself to things, but whatever. Well, it's a group that's called Just Stop Oil. This is a group that's called Just Stop Oil. These people, it's a group where it's vandalism, where they're going around mainly in Europe, causing vandalism, trying to raise awareness to save the planet. The fossil fuels are killing the planet. This group, like you would expect, just like the BLM groups and the Antifa groups and everything, are fully funded by billionaire groups. This is a ploy. This is to get, depending on how you want to look at it, I think they're always trying to kill multiple birds with one stone type of thing. But you look at it where, one, they're raising even more awareness and uprising. It's not the word I'm looking for. Upheaval, aggression from the SJWs, the social justice warriors out there about this stuff, but they're also trying to stir up more division and more aggression and hate between the political parties, which they're always doing that. They're always trying to stir up as much trouble between the two parties as much as possible. And so they're funding this group, just like I said, Antifa, BLM, all that stuff. It's all funded. And so Just Stop Oil, who's also connected to a couple other groups, Extinction Rebellion and Insulate Britain, are all backed by billionaires and international corporations, also nonprofit charities. Shocking, right? They're mainly funded by a group that's called Climate Emergency Fund, or CEF. We're just going to call it CEF. Makes it easier. So CEF is actually founded by Eileen Getty, the Getty family, not Getty Images, but the Getty family. Eileen Getty is the granddaughter of oil tycoon John Paul Getty. They're an oil family, and the granddaughter of said oil family, who got rich off of said oil, is funding the CEF, which is funding these groups to go out and vandalize art in the name of saving the planet because fossil fuel is killing it. The fossil fuel is killing the planet. So it's all wrapped up in there. It's amazing how that happens. And so, like I said, granddaughter Eileen Getty of John Paul Getty, the oil tycoon, she has a personal investment of £900,000. Like I said, this is mainly focused in the Europe sector over there. But she has personally invested her inheritance from oil, £900,000 into this thing. And it's also an umbrella organization that is completely exempt from taxes. This is where a nonprofit charity loophole comes into. And so this organization, CEF, they're exempt from taxes. They don't have to pay any taxes. So all of this billionaire funding going in to promote this stuff, they don't have to pay any taxes. It's just amazing how that happens, right? It's just a quinky dink. It's a coincidence. Now, CEF is funded through a line of shell companies. So many, usually, you've heard the term follow the money. You can find out who's doing it. The money flows through so many different shell companies out there. We have no idea who some of the bigger names are who are funding this group. I have looked, other people who are doing research on this have looked. They get about 20, I want to say. I didn't even make it that far, but they have gotten in about 20 different companies, and it still keeps going. They have no idea who's actually funding this thing, like the main person or persons who is funding it. So this is kind of a secret organization. I'm sure there's, some of the names that we know, Soros, Rothschilds, all them, we know all that stuff, but I'm sure there's others, again, in there that we don't know. But either way, the funding is coming through a whole bunch of channels, a whole bunch of companies that we don't know. Now, the sister company who's connected to Just Stop Oil and CEF is Extinction Rebellion. Extinction Rebellion is also backed by the Gettys. They have funding going in there. But Extinction Rebellion is also funded by the Kennedys, the Kennedy family. Rory Kennedy, who's the daughter of RFK, she is seated on the CEF's main leadership board. So she's one of the main leaders on this group as well. Now, Seth, even though most of the action being done is in Europe, and a lot of the contributors are in Europe, Seth is actually based in Beverly Hills, California. Interesting. You got your oil company here who's funding all this vandalism in the name of climate, and they're based in Beverly Hills, California. You will also find several Hollywood elites who are sitting as senior figures of Seth as well. So this Just Stop Oil thing, I know a lot of people might look at it and go, oh, it's just one of those fringe groups. They're just out there causing trouble and stuff like that. Well, if you look at what's going on in Europe, they're actually causing a lot more trouble than just gluing themselves to things. They are stirring up a lot of aggression and violence over in Europe. Like I said, they're always trying to cause division with the political stuff. Politics is such an, I mean, it is so incredibly strong when it comes to a tool for Satan to use. It's just how it works. And so it's stirring up political violence over there. It's actually caused several people to lose their jobs because they are blocking so much traffic that they can't get to work. And if they even try to remove the Just Stop Oil people, the police will actually come in and not arrest or move the protesters, but they actually arrest and move the regular people who are trying to get to work. The cops are in the pocket. The group Seth is in the pockets of the police, so they're backing all this stuff. If you watch the videos, a lot of the security, a lot of the police, they don't even attempt to stop the people from vandalizing or gluing themselves to anything. This is definitely a ploy that is being used. It's just not one of those violent ones that we're seeing, but this is definitely causing issues, stirring trouble. This is not just your usual tree hugger thing out there. This is definitely a tool that Satan is using, and it is being funded by the shadow government. These people they're the ones that are moving all the pieces around the board, and this is one of the tools that they are using. So this definitely is not just some fringe thing out there. This is definitely something to pay attention to on that. So that's kind of wrapping up all of the oil and gas and everything coming together. Europe is in serious trouble. Both Europe and the U.S., diesel shortages happening everywhere. Diesel is extremely important. You shut down the trucks, you shut down the farming equipment, everything's going with it. I'm telling you guys. So that's very bad stuff. Karish gas rig is going, so that should help. Like I said, that's also creating that maritime border thing, which is definitely going to irritate Russia even further than they already are. And then we've got the Just Stop Oil group here that is definitely being used as a tool of Satan to stir up aggression, politics, all of that stuff. So definitely some interesting stuff happening as far as the fuel and the gas and all that stuff that is happening over there. Now, if we take a look at what's going on with some of the financial stuff, I don't know about you guys. I'm going to let you guys know though, but I am still watching Credit Suisse and what's going on with that because, man, it's getting worse over there, and that really could cause a serious problem. So I'm still watching Credit Suisse. If you don't know Credit Suisse, it could be the next Lehman that triggers the entire global meltdown. It could. I'm not saying it is, but it's starting to look that direction. And so some updates on Credit Suisse. We look at Credit Suisse, who has posted a third quarter loss of over $4 billion. $4 billion, making sure I get the right currency there. But they have lost in the third quarter alone of this year, $4 billion. And afterwards, they released a memo for people about a radical overhaul that they plan on doing. Now, this radical overhaul includes over 9,000 layoffs. They're going to be laying off over 9,000 people. Always pay attention when banks start laying people off. Also, they are tapping into 20 other banks for more capital. So we talk about the death spiral. This is one of those situations where Credit Suisse has now put themselves into a death spiral. They are now taking out loans from 20 other banks to pay off other loans that are due. So this is, like if a snake starts eating its tail and it just keeps going, it just creates this death spiral where it's like you're taking out loans to pay off other loans. Sooner or later, that's going to catch up and it's all going to blow up in their face. Now, this comes also after a massive bank run that happened. This is basically the trigger event that made everybody look at Credit Suisse as, oh, something bad is happening there. I connected the dots a couple episodes about how when the Vatican, the Pope announced all of the financial assets with the Vatican need to be put into the Vatican Bank by September 30th. That was the same time that a giant bank run happened in Credit Suisse, and that's where the downturn happened. So that bank run was led by the Vatican. Everybody else saw what was happening, and they went in and started doing the same thing. So that bank run did happen also about the same time that all of this stuff is happening as well. Now, Credit Suisse is connected to the Swiss Central Bank because that's kind of where they're located. And right now, the Swiss Central Bank is endorsing the radical overhaul that Credit Suisse has put out. Keep in mind, Swiss Central Bank, as the first 9 months of this year, they are posting a $143 billion loss as well. So if Credit Suisse goes down, Swiss Central Bank goes down. All of the banks that are connected to both of them, they start going down. Everything starts blowing up. You see how this is important? I hope so. So I'm still watching Credit Suisse. I don't know about you guys. I will keep you guys updated, though. But like I said, it's just funny that everybody's saying that this could be the Lehman moment. If you don't know, the Lehman moment was the Lehman Brothers Bank that triggered the 2007 crash. They're saying that this could be the Lehman moment, and it's the chairman of Credit Suisse. His last name is Lehman. It's just interesting. Yeah, I don't know. That's just not an accident. Yeah, it's just not a coincidence. Nothing is a coincidence. It's just interesting to think about. Also, I wasn't going to talk about this, but I just thought it was interesting. See, I gotta pull up my note about it because I don't even have it written down. I just saw this recently. Somebody posted this a while ago, and I think we should it's worth just keeping in the back of your head because I think it's funny. If I can find it. Where is it? Is that it? Yeah. Just a little fun note for you guys. I'm not saying that this is really what's going to happen, but it's just funny. Over the past 100 years, this is what this person posted on their report that they were doing. Over the past 100 years, the sure sign of an oncoming financial crisis has been a Philadelphia-based baseball team winning the World Series. If you go back to 1929, when that financial catastrophe happened, the Athletics, who was in Philadelphia at that time, won the World Series. Then you go to 1980. Philadelphia won the World Series. There's the financial crisis. Then 2008, we were just talking about that. The Phillies won the World Series. Well, something to keep in mind. This year, Phillies are in the World Series, and I think they're actually winning Game 3 right now, which would put them up 2-1. Yeah, so I apologize if you hear the ridiculously loud bass music driving by my house. Hopefully they go away. But yeah, so the Philadelphia Phillies are in the World Series, and we're on the precipice of a financial crisis this year, which would be the ultimate financial crisis, to be honest. Just something interesting to keep in mind. I'm not saying it's anything. I'm not saying it's not. Like I said, there's no such thing as coincidence, but that's something that makes you go, So just thought I'd throw that out there. So keep an eye on the... Wow, now I'm getting an Amber Alert. Man, sorry about that. But just something to keep in mind. Keep an eye on the World Series and see what happens with Philadelphia. So just something to think about. Now, sticking with financial stuff, we're also getting a report that the Dutch Minister of Finance, Sigrid Kaag, I don't know how to pronounce the two A's when it comes to that language. We're just going to say Sigrid Kaag. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. She is a WEF agenda contributor and a part of the WHO's and World Bank's Global Preparedness Monitoring Board. Well, she is looking to introduce a law to monitor all transactions over 100 euro in the Netherlands. So she's starting to push forward on the social credit score, watching over transactions system. We've seen other countries that are starting to do this. United States, where they put in their one where it's like transactions over $600, I think. We know China's got theirs. Japan has something similar over in there. I don't know if there's any other countries that do. Those are just the ones I know off the top of my head. But this is a part of that social credit score system where they want to start tracking every single thing, which is kind of like a preliminary test for their their central bank digital currencies. And so she wants to put in this thing where they're going to start monitoring all 100 euro transactions. And this is going to be the connection of the financial system as well as the social credit system. And it kind of has a play on social credit scores, which people don't realize that we already have. There is a social credit score system in the United States that is already active that we don't even know about. And it has come to light that during the 2020 and 2021 situation, since I'm on YouTube, I have to be careful of words that I use. They started giving out COOF decree violation scores. If you're watching for the first time and you don't know what COOF or vitamin or any of that means, just kind of follow along. You'll pick up on it. I can't really say it on YouTube. So millions of U.S. citizens were given COOF decree violation scores. Now, what is this? Voter analytics company PredictWise used data harvesting programs during the lockdowns. So this voter analytics company, PredictWise, started using data harvesting programs on people's phones. That's where they basically just go in and start scraping up the bits and bobs of your phone, any information of you, what you're doing on your phone, the apps that you're using, the GPS location, all of that stuff. It just starts scraping all that stuff, and it gathers that information. Well, they started using this during the lockdowns, and using your GPS bits and bobs that they took, they would give you a score or give somebody a score based on how often they moved about during the lockdowns. If somebody stayed in their house more often than not and didn't go places, they were given a low score. If somebody during the lockdowns was out doing things all the time, going different places, doing all that stuff, you were given a higher score, a bad score. They would mark your violation. It would be a high violation score. The score used as part of your Internet of Things profile. I know I talk about it all the time, but it is so important that we do, because the Internet of Things profile, the profile of you, is attached to literally everything. It is going to be attached to your digital ID. It's going to be attached to your social credit score, which we just find out it's already a part of this score for people. It's going to be attached to your bank account. It's already attached to your bank account, but your central bank. Why do I keep saying that? Your central bank currency thing. Your phone, all the stuff that you use, your computers, your smart TVs, your smart appliances, everything, other people's phones. It connects all of this stuff together, and it creates your Internet of Things profile. It knows more about you than you know about yourself. And this COOF decree violation program, this data harvesting that they used on people's phones when they were supposed to be in lockdown, created a score, a social credit score for you, and attached it to your Internet of Things profile. This actually happened. PredictWise has basically online portal data harvesters everywhere. If you just log on to a website, and if one of the portals on that website, if they have something attached there, it's scraping all your information and shoving it into your profile. It tracks, PredictWise literally tracks 78% of the United States. I apologize if you hear kids in the background. I'm not even going to get into that. But they track 78% of the U.S. 78% total of all the people in the U.S., they have some type of data tracking on you, whether it's opinions, your attitudes, your behaviors, everything. They have taken all of it. And that's where I talk about how this Internet of Things profile, and they use politics on it. One of the biggest drivers of it is they'll take all the data that they have on you and in your profile, and then it'll start feeding you advertisements and all this stuff on whether to get you to start hating the other side, start rooting for the other side. It'll take every bit of who you are and what you think, and then start feeding into what they want you to do. A lot of the aggression and the social media meltdowns on, I don't know if you guys are on social media very much, but my word, if you ever want to see a war zone, step onto a social media post that involves something Democrat or Republican and just see the vitriol, the vile aggression that's on there. The reason why a lot of those people are seeing those ads and those posts is because, according to their Internet of Things profile, they know exactly what to feed to you to get that reaction from you. That's one of the aspects of how this works. And it's going to feed into your social credit score we just talked about. It's going to feed into your bank account, everything. I just need to shut up about it. That's one of those big things that I know about, but that I talk about all the time because it's so important. And I don't think people really talk about it very often. But that thing is attached to everything. And like I said, it knows more about you than you know about yourself. And so this COOF decree violation score, there's your social credit score system. It's already active. It's already being done. And it's just proof in the pudding in the proof, however you want to put it, that it's been going on. Now, this leads into, I don't know if you guys have paid attention, but there were some recent documents that have been leaked as far as the DHS and their misinformation board. Now, we knew about the misinformation governance board that they announced a while ago. Everybody got up in arms. I mean, it was a full force attack on it, and they ended up ceasing it. Well, they never actually ceased it, and this program has been going on before that even happened. So getting into this, it's a lot of documents and everything. I'm not going to get into all that stuff, but Facebook and Twitter have portals for the government to issue a rapid request for content removal or suppression. This is a portal where if the government finds a post, a subject that they don't want talked about, they put in a request to this, and it instantly gets sent to who it needs to, and they can go in and either remove it completely, or they will start suppressing it or shadow banning type of thing. Where there was, I read something about how Facebook has a thing where if you're talking about a specific subject and they think it's misinformation, they'll actually hide it from. You can still post it, but they'll hide it from everybody, so nobody can even find the post. So this is a part of that program that was going on. Now, like I said, the Disinformation Governance Board was always there. They were just announcing it out there, and everybody got up in arms about it. And so they just said, oh, no, we're going to get rid of it. Well, no, it was always there. It was just announced later. This is a part of the DHS CISA, C-I-S-A agency. The DHS released bulletins on misinformation as a terrorist threat, which is why the DHS is involved with this. So we talked about this. What was it? This was like over a year ago, I think. About a year ago or over a year ago, where there was a DHS bulletin that they put out where they declared anybody who speaks misinformation, disinformation, and some other type of information thing is technically declared a domestic terrorist. That was a legitimate bulletin that the DHS put out. They put that out because that allows the DHS to get involved with misinformation, which allows them to do this program that they were doing, the CISA agency program that they were doing. So that's how they're able to operate in that thing, even though the government agencies operate however they want to. They still went through this to have some type of legality to it. What's very interesting on this is you've got JP Morgan Chase, the bank, attended meetings every month with the CISA board. And even they were quoted as saying they need media infrastructure to be held accountable. So they attended these meetings with the DHS CISA agency board on misinformation and said these media companies, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff, need to be held accountable for what other people are putting on there. If what they don't like is being talked about, then they need to start addressing it. And that's the bank. That's JP Morgan Bank. Yeah, this is going to be attached to social credit and central bank digital currency and all that stuff. It's all going to be a part of it. It's all wrapped up into one giant package. And so some of the other quotes coming out, there was texts from former CISA, a former CISA top election security official. That's exactly what you think it is. It's somebody who was supposed to be on watch of election stuff and deemed what's misinformation. His name is Matt Masterson. He sent a text to DHS Director Jen Easterly to call upon platforms to get more comfortable with government. So he was talking about how these social media companies and all these platforms need to start working more and more and more with the government groups. Basically, they're just a part of the government at that point. Now, just a little note, this Matt Masterson guy who worked for CISA and all that stuff, well, he left the DHS and the CISA, and now Matt works for Microsoft as Director of Information Integrity. Right. Yeah. Okay. We'll go with that. Now, there is a whole bunch of different code words, a whole bunch of different targets, but some of the main targets include the COOF vitamins. Again, follow along, COOF vitamins, racial justice stuff, the Afghanistan withdrawal, and U.S. support for Ukraine is the most recent one. That's why you keep seeing all this stuff about how anybody who says Ukraine is losing and stuff like that, you're a part of the Russian misinformation thing, you're a Russian bot and all that stuff. Well, that's a part of it as well. So those are some of the main targets. There's a whole bunch of other stuff, but that was the main stuff that they were doing. Now, besides JP Morgan Chase, keep in mind, this stuff was happening back in like 2018, through 2020, still happening now, but the main setup of this was then, I'll get to that in a second. But other than JP Morgan Chase, you had people joining like from Twitter, officials from Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Discord, Wikipedia, Microsoft, LinkedIn, and Verizon Media. They all met monthly with the FBI, CISA, and other agencies. So all those groups, which they're mainly platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, that's social media stuff. Discord is like a chat thing for, it's voice chat program. It's more social media type of thing. Wikipedia, we know Wikipedia. Don't ever get information from Wikipedia. Microsoft, of course. LinkedIn, it's basically another social media platform. And all of Verizon Media. I'm sure there's other ones. Those are the ones that I found when I was reading the document. They all met monthly with FBI, CISA, and all that stuff to push this forward, this misinformation stuff forward. After several hacks of U.S. firms in 2018, now this is where it gets interesting. In 2018, there were several U.S. firms, large U.S. firms, that got hacked. After those hacks happened, Congress passed, and Sorry, guys. This is just how it is. Congress passed and Trump signed the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency Act. I know I'm going to get some heat. I'm going to get some hate, but this is just a fact. This is what it is. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency Act. This new bill created a new DHS wing devoted to national security infrastructure, which branches into policing disinformation. So this act, this bill that was passed and signed by Congress and Trump in 2018 created this DHS wing, this Disinformation Governance Board that everybody was up in arms about. This is the same one that was pushing so heavily on the social media apps against the Koof vitamin stuff, which that makes sense. Sorry, but Trump, his warp speed program, that's exactly what that was. It starts on the Afghanistan stuff. That's Biden there and stuff. Like I said, it's still going all the way through in today. But this wing, this group, this disinformation policing, all that stuff was in 2018. What started as a task force to respond to election disinformation. So the thing was even created for election disinformation while Trump was still in office. Then started growing into the Koof stuff, started growing into the Afghanistan stuff, Ukraine stuff, all that stuff. The main member of CISA's advisory committee is ex-Twitter head of legal policy of Vijaya Gaddy, not sure. She was just recently fired after Elon Musk took over Twitter. I'm working on something on Elon Musk that let's just say it's going to be its own separate video and it's only going to be on Rumble and Odyssey. There's some stuff on there that there's absolutely no way YouTube will allow me to talk about. But just because this chick was fired does not mean that Elon Musk is here to save the day. Not by a long shot. He is fully wrapped up in all of this stuff as well. But she was one of the main advisory committee people for CISA on this stuff. So this Disinformation Governance Board, which everybody was up in arms about, was actually formed in 2018 from that, I always have to have it wordy, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency Act, which was formed mainly for election disinformation, but then started going into Koof stuff, and that's where the DHS started expanding with their domestic terrorist thing, and then they started getting into all this stuff. That's why all of this social media and everything is happening with this censorship and everything, is because of that. So, yeah. Like I said, there is a bunch of documents on that. There is a bunch of information on that. That's kind of the rundown of who, what, where, and why on that. So, yeah, we know the social media stuff is all connected, but because of how it's connected and what it's being used for, it's going to be a part of the social credit score system and the central bank digital currencies. Now, when we get into the central bank digital currencies, we've got some updates on this coming from the Bank of International Settlements. We're just going to call it BIZ for short. Bank of International Settlements. They worked with 4 central banks to complete a pilot program of real value transactions on cross-border central bank digital currency platforms. To make this easier for everybody, the BIZ and 4 central banks were working on a program to test real money transferring on a central bank digital currency platform between different countries. That's what they were working on. This is exactly what you think it is. This is the formation of the one world economy that we know in Revelation is going to happen. Those 4 central banks were Hong Kong, one in mainland China, Thailand, which a couple months ago we talked about how Thailand is ready to go there. But Hong Kong, mainland China, Thailand, and the UAE. Shocking, right? Not at all. This program, this platform is called the M-Bridge platform. And what they did is they tested 164 payments worth $22 million. All of it worked flawlessly from what they're reporting. It's all working perfectly fine. Now, this will work in tandem with two other projects that they're working on. Project Aurum, or Aurum, Aurum. That's the best I got. And yeah, you can't make this up. Project Genesis 2.0. Getting biblical with it. Now, keep in mind, there are two types of central bank digital currencies. There's the wholesale, which is the bank-to-bank stuff. That's what this pilot program they were testing. That's what that is. Then there's the retail version, which is for us, our everyday, we walk into a store and buy something, something that they can fully control. It's programmable. And if they don't want you buying something, if they want to shut off your money, they can do it. That's the retail version. Now, Project Aurum, I'm just going to pronounce it Aurum, is the retail central bank digital currency. It's a connector of the wholesale interbank system and the retail e-wallet. This is the Project Aurum is the connection that brings retail and wholesale central bank digital currencies together in one flawless transaction. It establishes two types of retail tokens, intermediated central bank digital currencies. Wow, I'm sorry, guys, about if you can hear that. It establishes two types of retail tokens, intermediated central bank digital currencies, which I'm not fully, I don't have full information on what that is exactly. But then the other one is central bank digital currency backed stable coins. Central bank digital currencies held in which is basically central bank digital currencies held in the interbank wholesale. So it's basically stablecoin. You know how how it's supposed to happen, where all of our regular money is supposed to be backed by gold. Well, what they're doing is the wholesale stable coins in the interbank system are going to be the backing for the retail coins. So it's hopefully that makes sense. I don't really have. It all makes sense in my head. Sometimes I have a hard time explaining it to you, but it's going to be the backed currency for the retail stuff. That's what that is. Then we've got Project Genesis 2.0. This one is kind of confirming what I've been believing all along, which I believe the one world currency is going to be the carbon credit system. That's what this is a part of. Project Genesis 2.0 is green finance. It's tokenized green bonds with carbon, can't even read my own handwriting, with carbon credit interest. It's basically a currency, it's backing the current central bank digital currencies with these carbon credits. That's what this is. Using blockchain and the Internet of Things, I told you it's wrapped up in everything. A prototype of a carbon credit recognized by national and international verification systems, there's your one world, is being built to fit the Paris Agreement. That famous Paris Agreement that we've heard about every some odd years or whatever. This is playing a part into the carbon credit system on this. These credits are tracked and automatically delivered via the Internet of Things devices that identify the source. These things will be automatically issued or withdrawn based on your Internet of Things devices. That's your phones, that's your digital ID stuff, that's your computers. That will be the mark of the beast. These things will be issued automatically to all of these devices. It's going to keep track of everything that is happening. The first prototype was created by, and I told you guys when we were talking about Sunak and how he's fully on with the push of central bank digital currencies and everything. I told you I was going to bring it right back around. The first prototype was created by Alinfra Digital Asset And Goldman Sachs, who was one of the main guys at Goldman Sachs who has been pushing and leading the charge for the central bank digital currency? That would be Mr. Sunak. This Project Genesis, this carbon credit central bank digital currency thing and all that stuff, this is his project. He was fully wrapped up in this. I mean, I don't know what else to say on that. Like I said, I'm just the more I look into this carbon credit system. If you guys don't know about the carbon credit system, go on my channel, and there is a Wretched Airwave where it's called Your Carbon Footprint, a New Currency. If you have not listened to that yet, and you don't know what I'm talking about, and you want to know more about this, listen to that. That thing is probably one of the most important videos that I've put out, because the more I look into this, the more I believe that this carbon credit system is going to be that one world currency. Because it doesn't matter how they're planning this, how they're building this system. It does not matter if you have 500 different currencies out in the world. They're going to attach the carbon credit system to every single one of them, and it will work internationally. It doesn't matter where you're at, what currency you have, and it is going to control if you can spend that currency or not. That thing it's attached to everything currency out there. And it's amazing how the further I look into central bank digital currencies, the more I look into cryptocurrency, the more I look into what this economy is coming and how it's being built, the more I find carbon credit system. That thing, that word, that name, that tag, whatever you want to call it, is attached to every single part of the coming economy. It's just beyond incredible how connected that is. And again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you definitively that that is going to be it. We can't do that. There's still so much unknown, and we just have to watch and see what's going to happen. I can't do that. But the more I look into it, the more I really am under the belief that that thing is going to be it. It's too perfect for what they want. It controls everything. It can be attached to everything. And literally, if you've got, say, $500 million in your account, but you use all your carbon credits, that money's worthless. Doesn't mean anything. I don't know. It's crazy. And then you look at the systems that they're testing right now. It's coming. And it's a lot closer than people think. I mean, they are ready to go. Some of these places, I think it's Turkey's one. I think there's 3 countries that have already announced that they are officially launching a central bank digital currency next year. We know there's going to be more, but those are the 3 that I've seen recently that have announced next year it's coming. I think Turkey's one. I can't remember the other ones. I apologize. There's just as more goes in, more goes out. But it's coming a lot quicker than people think. And when you look at how close they are with that, you realize how close it is for the giant financial collapse to take place, to happen. So definitely important on that. And finishing off tonight, mainly the title of the episode, Uganda. We've got a problem. So I've been following the Uganda Ebola outbreak. I don't think that that's off limits on YouTube. I think I can actually talk about that. Let's hope. But I've been following the Ebola outbreak that's been happening in Uganda, and it is picking up steam and getting worse. It is not going away. It's not getting any less bad. That's a philosophical way of putting it. But the Ebola outbreak in Uganda, it is the 8th biggest on record now. They've got over 150 cases. There's been 53 deaths. 35 have recovered. They're reporting about a 60% fatality rate on this thing. Some of the announcements coming from it is Uganda has begun temperature screenings at their borders. You're going to notice some of the things that they're doing. We just saw with what happened with the coup recently. So they're beginning temperature screenings at borders, all border crossings, people coming and going. They're testing both ways. And they are banning contacts of Ebola patients. So people who have been in contact with patients who have been confirmed with cases of Ebola from traveling for 21 days. Again, we're starting to see a similar thing there. Now, what gets interesting is Ebola trial vitamins. I'm not even going to say the word, even though we're not talking about COOF here. Ebola trial vitamins are being doled out to Ugandan healthcare workers as cases just this past 2 weeks have exploded. I mean, the past 2 weeks, it started to gain crazy speed out there. What's interesting is these trial vitamins that were issued several weeks ago, or the trial vitamins that have been given out to the healthcare workers, they were given to them 2 weeks ago, about the same time that this thing started exploding. Just something to think about. These trial vitamins, they were 470 doses, were flown in from the UK and the US. Merck, if we know Merck, they've been involved with a lot of this stuff. Merck has also found a frozen batch of 100,000 doses of their own experimental Ebola vitamins. They found them, and now they're in talks on how to get them over to Uganda. Very interesting. These experimental vitamins were found in Pennsylvania, the same Pennsylvania lab that they found those smallpox vials. The WHO and Uganda are discussing trials for these experimental vitamins on Ebola patients. They're discussing on how to, if they want to use them, how they want to do them, how they want to test them on live people. Again, I don't want to push my luck on YouTube, but with that information, something stinks. I'm not going to, again, I don't want to push my luck. I'm not going to give my opinion or anything like that. I'm just giving you the facts. YouTube, these are facts, legitimate facts. So you can't say it's misinformation about Ebola. It's about Ebola. It's a different thing. But something stinks. I'll just leave you guys with that information, and then you guys can do with it what you will. You guys can think about it how you will. So, again, I don't want to push my luck with medical stuff on here. So, but those are facts, YouTube, legitimate facts, some of which come from the WHO themselves. So, can't get mad at me for that. So, that's all I got, guys. That's all I got. Kind of a shorter episode. Like I said, there's a bunch of stuff to get through. I was just kind of spitting through it because I didn't know how long it was going to take me to get through it. Probably could have slowed down and made it a little bit easier, but it's a shorter episode. Nothing wrong with that. Pack it into an hour. So, but that's all I got, guys. There's a lot of big things happening right now, especially when it comes to social credit and central bank digital currency and all that stuff. There's a lot of big things happening, a lot of stuff happening behind the curtain, behind the scenes. And like I said, I'm working on something with Elon Musk. Yeah. I'll announce that in my Telegram when that's ready to go. And like I said, it'll be a Rumble and Odyssey exclusive for reasons, of course, you already know. So, but with that, make sure you subscribe on my Rumble, Odyssey, Telegram, all that stuff. Those are my backup if something was to happen on there. Make sure you like, share, subscribe on this video. Share it out with as many people as you can. All that stuff. We're entering times where people really got to know what's going on, and we're not supposed to. Make sure your fight, and I talked about this last week, make sure your fight, your main goal in these times right now is to drag every last soul over that line that you can. We need to get Jesus to people. We need to be that ambassador for the Lord. We need to plant that seed. That needs to be our focus right now. That's definitely what we need to do. So, but yeah, so make sure you do that. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Follow me on my other stuff. Again, if you feel led to donate, there are links down below. Much appreciated on that. I think that's everything I got. No announcements or anything? I don't think so. So with that, I'm going to leave you guys here. And Lord willing, I'll see you guys next Tuesday. So peace out, guys.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.